Hi everyone, my name is Abhuraj Karakapati. Welcome to my YouTube channel Amazing Apai. Did you know that Sung Jinwoo has an army of 10 million shadows? Yeah, insane, right? From absolute beasts like Beru and Egris to some who, well, don't get as much spotlight. So that's why we'll go over all Jinwoo's shadows in today's video. If you didn't know, Jinwoo's shadows are ranked by different grades, ranging from basic all the way up to Grand Marshal. And these grades, they represent their strength, kind of like how the ranks work for hunters. Alright, so first up, we've got the basic grade. This is the lowest rank in Jinwoo Shadow Army, and the shadows here are the weakest of the bunch, comparable to E rank or D rank hunters. But yeah, Jinwoo shadows are no joke, so he doesn't even have any shadows in this grade. So next up is the normal grade. Now here's where we actually start seeing some shadows. The shadows in this grade serve as the foot soldiers of Jinwoo's army and are about as strong as C rank hunters. And first up, we've got the Knights. These guys are Jinwoo's first ever shadows. He arrived after becoming the Shadow Monarch during the Job Change Quest dungeon. These Shadow Knights are close-range fighters, decked out in heavy armor that's tough to cut through. They also wield all sorts of weapons from swords to axes to spears, making them versatile on the battlefield. Now, as I mentioned, each of these knights are strong enough to match C-rank hunters, but over time, many of them leveled up, and even became elite grade shadows after going through tons of battles. The other normal grade shadows are the Ice Bears. These guys first showed up during the Red Gate incident, where Jinwoo took down a few on his own, and then his knights handled the rest with ease. Despite looking all primal, these bears are actually pretty smart fighters. But yeah, their main strength is of course charging in with brute force. Now let's continue to the elite grade shadows. These guys are the most common in Jinwoo's shadow army, and they're coming in at about the same strength as B rank hunters. So yeah, they're not the top tier, but they can definitely get the job done. So first up, we've got the Mages. These guys were also from the Job Change Quest dungeon just like the Knights. But unlike the Knights, the Mages were a rise to elite grade soldiers. The Mages are all about using their magic, casting elemental spells, cursing enemies, and even summoning spirits to fight alongside them. You'll typically find them hanging back, supporting Jinwoo and the other shadows from a distance, making sure the team stays strong and protected. Moving on from the Mages, we've got the Ants. The Ants were a race of human-sized mutant ants, and they caused some serious damage to Jeju Island, literally turning it into a wasteland, because well, there were thousands of them. They were pretty intelligent and had decent strength. But yeah, they didn't stand a chance against Jinwoo. When he showed up to help out the Jeju Island raid party, he and his shadows made quick work of all the ants and turned them into shadows who, just like the knights, were used as foot soldiers on the front lines and battles. Another group of elite grade shadows were the High Orc shadows. These red-skinned orcs first appeared during the Hunters Guild Gate when they attacked Kaihun and his group, and later showed up in Kargalgan's boss room. These orcs are strong enough to go toe-to-toe with A-rank hunters, like one of them literally destroyed Kaihun's shield with just pure brute strength. Not to mention Kargalgan's 4 generals who were even stronger. But despite all that, these guys are still in the elite grade. But yeah, Jinwoo absolutely knows how tough they are. For example, when he had to go back to the Demon Castle, he trusted his High Orc shadows to stay behind with Gina and Jinho for protection. Now we've got the Shadow Nagas. These guys first appeared during the Ajin Guild's first A-rank gate raid. Before we move ahead, please take a second to like on this video. A like tells me that you enjoyed this topic. Your support helps Amazing Apai grow naturally. And the Nagas are basically humanoid serpents, towering about 2 to 3 times bigger than your average human. They've also got this shiny blue skin, sharp teeth, glowing red eyes, and light blue back fins that make them look absolutely intimidating. They're also armed with pole arms like tridents and bidents, and they absolutely know how to handle them in battle. Unfortunately, we don't get to see the Nagas in action all that much after being erased as shadows, but they're definitely very strong. Alright, that was the elite grade shadows, so now let's talk about the night grade shadows, or well, the night grade shadow, as there's actually only one shadow in this category. But first, the shadows in this grade are about as strong as A-rank hunters, and they also get the privilege of being named by Jinwoo himself. But yeah, the only night grade shadow is Tank. During the Red Gate incident, we saw Egress easily take down the Alpha Ice Bear, with Jinwoo extracting the beast shadow, and later naming him Tank, and honestly, the name fits perfectly. Like, we saw Tank literally charge through a horde of demons like it was a game of bowling. He's all about that brute force tearing enemies apart with his teeth and claws. But don't sleep on his intelligence. He's actually not just a big guy with muscle. For example, we saw him team up with Iron to take down one of Kargogan's generals. And let's not forget, when Tank first joined Jinwoo as a shadow, he also served as a pretty solid mode of transportation. Moving on from Tank, we've got the elite night grade shadows. And yeah, these guys are way stronger than your night grade shadows. They're actually on par with basic S-rank hunters like Beck, you know. So yeah, these shadows are no joke. They're seriously powerful and can hold their own against some of the strongest hunters out there. The first elite night grade shadow we need to talk about is, of course, Iron. Now, when Jinwoo took down Kim Chul and made him his shadow, he literally went from being one of the most hated characters to one of the most loved. As Iron, he looks pretty much the same as he did when he was alive, with the same armor and weapons. But once he evolved to the elite night grade, his battle axe got bigger and gained this cool, smoky aura. In battle, you can say that Iron's a bit of a loose cannon. He tends to go overboard and takes pride in his kills, like we saw when he took down Baruka. But even though Jinwoo calls him a dunce, he keeps him around because Iron does always deliver in a fight. Oh, and sometimes Jinwoo even uses Iron Shield for some extra protection, which is cool. Now, moving on, we've got the 28 Shadow Giants. These 28 giants all came from the Tokyo S-rank gate, and were each about the size of a large building. But when Jinwoo showed up to save Tokyo from the giants, he made quick work of them and turned them into shadows. So now, as shadows, they kept their massive size, and since they were strong enough to take on S-rank hunters, they became the strongest infantry in Jinwoo's shadow army. So yeah, these giants are truly a force to be reckoned with. We've already talked about the night grade Nagas, but now let's talk about the boss Naga Jima. While we didn't really get to see Jima's strength when he was alive, since he was one-shotted by Jinwoo, his shadow form is insanely strong. In fact, he was so strong that he was able to take down a giant, which remember could take on an S-rank hunter with just one strike. But going back to when Jinwoo extracted his shadow, he was pretty confused and even a bit sad that Jima ended up being so small. But it turns out Jima has the ability to grow dramatically bigger using mana. Now we've got Kaisel. After reaching the 100th level of the Demon Castle and taking down Baron, Jinwoo extracted the shadow from Kaisel in his corpse and named it Kaisel. Before we move ahead, please take a second to share on this video. Sharing helps this video reach friends who may also enjoy anime, gaming, travel, cricket, chess, career basics, or personal stories. Your support helps Amazing Apai grow naturally. Because, well, he just didn't remember the Wyvern's original name. So now, instead of using Tank for transportation, Jinwoo rides around on Kaisel whenever he needs to travel. However, unfortunately, Kaisel was only good for flying, so Jinwoo never really called on him in battle. The last elite night grade shadow was Min Bungu. But why do I say was? Well, Bungu was actually only a shadow for a short time. And here's why. During the Jeju Island raid, the Ant King unfortunately killed him. However, after Jinwoo took down the Ant King, he revived Bungu as a shadow soldier to help heal the injured hunters on the island. But once Bungu had fulfilled his duty and saved the lives of the injured, Jinwoo honored Yunho's wish and allowed Bungu to rest in peace by terminating the extraction, letting his soul move on peacefully. Alright, the shadows in the elite night grade were definitely strong, but the general grade shadows? Yeah, they're on a whole different level. These guys are powerful enough to go head-to-head with advanced S-rank hunters like Godu Yujin, and they even have the ability to speak. Pretty impressive, right? So, first up in the general grade shadows is Tusk. Tusk is the shadow of the powerful High Orc shaman Kargogan, and he got his name because, well, he's got a tusk. As a shadow, Tusk is easily Jinwoo's most powerful magic user, known for his crazy strong area of effect spells and his intelligence. Tusk also plays a major role in Jinwoo's shadow army, especially in big battles, as he can blast fireballs, create shields, and well, a lot more. He's just crazy strong. The next general grade shadow is greed. After Jinwoo defeated Thomas Andre, the national-level hunter, he took down Huang Dong-su as revenge for torturing Jinho, extracted his shadow, and named it Greed. Now, as a shadow, Greed knows about all the crimes he committed when he was alive, so he's super humble, quiet, and respectful towards his master, always asking permission to speak and addressing him with honorifics. But when it comes to battle, Greed's got a serious thirst for blood and is insanely strong. Like, this guy literally flexed his biceps to break out of the Frost Monarch's ice prison. So yeah, he's that powerful. Now, the last two general grade shadows were actually only temporary shadows. So let's start with the Ant Queen. She was the boss of the Jeju Island S-rank gate and the mother of the Ant King. So when Jinwoo then arrived and took down all the ants on Jeju Island, including the Ant King, he extracted the shadow of the Ant Queen who had already been killed. However, things didn't really go as planned. Her shadow was way weaker than expected, with Bardu pointing out that the Ant Queen wasn't much of a fighter. Her main power was reproduction, which, well, doesn't exactly work when you're a shadow. So Jinwoo decided to terminate her extraction pretty quickly. Last, but definitely not least, we've got Kamish. But before we talk about him as a shadow, let me tell you who this OP dragon was. Kamish was the boss of the very first S-rank gate ever to open. He absolutely wrecked the American West Coast, wiping out over 99 S-rank hunters. So yeah, he was strong to say the least. The only reason he was eventually taken down was because the 5 surviving S-rank hunters teamed up and managed to kill him. After his death, his body was preserved by the American government in the exact spot he fell. Fast forward about 8 years later, and Jinwoo gets permission to visit Kamish's corpse, where he then successfully revives him as a shadow. When Kamish became a shadow, he revealed he had once served under Antares, but unfortunately, having been dead for so long. Before we move ahead, please take a second to like on this video. A like tells me that you enjoyed this topic. Your support helps Amazing Pie grow naturally. Long Kamish's body began to crumble away, and before his body crumbled away completely, Kamish told Jinwoo he was sad that he couldn't fully serve him as a shadow. Alright, as you saw, these shadows were crazy strong, but now, let's move on to the martial grade. This is the highest grade that a shadow can evolve to, meaning those who reach this level are the most powerful soldiers in Jinwoo's shadow army. The first martial grade shadow we got to talk about is Aegris. After Jinwoo barely defeated him, thanks to the power of plot armor, he extracted Aegris' shadow on his 3rd try and he instantly became Jinwoo's right-hand man. Aegris is all about loyalty, respect, and chivalry, even kneeling to Jinwoo after every battle. Oh, and he also always brings back the heads of his kills, like he did with the Alpha Ice Bear. Although Aegris was already super strong, once Jinwoo was reborn as the true Shadow Monarch, Aegris gained his true power, jumping 2 grades and becoming a martial grade shadow. So now, as a martial grade shadow, together with his insane sword skills, becomes one of the strongest characters in the entire series. And fans sometimes debate who's stronger between Aegris and Beru, but Silid, the Frost Monarch, actually said that with Aegris' true power, he's a way bigger threat than Beru. So yeah, I'm not saying who's stronger, but yeah, Aegris is just OP. Talking about Beru, he is of course the other martial grade shadow. But before becoming a shadow, he was the secret boss of the Jeju Island Gate, and let's just say he was insanely strong. He took out all the hunters, including S-rank hunters, that came to the island with no problem. But when Jinwoo showed up, yeah, you can probably figure out what happened next. After Jinwoo took down the Ant King, he extracted his shadow. But out of nowhere, the Ant King's shadow started talking, which of course hadn't happened before. The ant asked Jinwoo for a name, so he decided to name him Beru. Now, as a shadow, Beru has incredible physical strength, like we've seen him crush a sword with his bare hands, take down an archlich in one shot, break out of the Frost Monarch's ice prison, and even slice off Korasia's fingers like it's nothing. But what really makes Beru stand out, yeah, it's his personality. Beru sees Jinwoo like a literal god, constantly praising his strength and skills, even stopping mid-fight just to appreciate Jinwoo's aura farming. Over time, he even started calling Jinwoo Your Majesty, and he's always eager to show how much he's worth to Jinwoo, and will annihilate anyone who dares threaten his master. Alright, that was the 2 martial grade shadows, So now, let's move on to the last grade, which is the Grand Marshal grade. This is the ultimate rank, reserved for the absolute strongest shadow in Jinwoo's army. Not only is this the most powerful shadow, but the one with this rank also serves as Jinwoo's right-hand man, the lieutenant to the Shadow Monarch himself. So, who is this OP shadow that holds this prestigious spot? It's Belladin. Before talking about how Belladin became Jinwoo's right-hand man, let's dive into some backstory. Belladin was born eons ago from the fruit of the mystical world tree. He quickly then became Ashbourne's right-hand man, and later, he also became the first shadow soldier ever created with Ashbourne's power. And even after Ashbourne's death, Belladin stayed loyal to him. But how did he end up as Jinwoo's shadow? Well, after Jinwoo wiped out the three monarchs, Belladin showed up in the human world with the rest of Ashbourne's original army through a massive gate in Seoul. When Belladin then met Jinwoo, he showed off his power by easily beating Biru in a sparring match, and becoming the only Grand Marshal grade shadow. After that, Belladin became totally loyal to Jinwoo. As the moment he saw him as the new Shadow Monarch, he kneeled right away and was 100% convinced that Ashbourne made the right choice in choosing Jinwoo as his successor. So Belladin's ready to follow him wherever. And there you have it. Awesome Jinwoo's insanely strong army of shadows, from the basic grade to the Grand Marshal grade. Who is your favorite shadow? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching and watch this video next. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to Amazing Apai. Subscribing makes sure you do not miss the next video, and it gives me motivation to keep improving the quality of every upload. Thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next one.